Welcome back, everyone. Today we're doing a deep dive into something I think a lot of parents struggle with.
Yeah.
Communication with their kids about school.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Specifically, we're looking at this guide all about empowering our children to do well in school through effective communication.
It's a fascinating read.
It really is. I have to say, even just skimming through it, I'm already having some light bulb
I
moments.
know, right? Like
Yeah.
rethinking how we approach these conversations with our kids.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, the guide starts off by challenging us to rethink how we even recognize that there's a school performance issue in the first place.
Mm,
Because it's not always as straightforward as a bad report card, right?
right. It's so much more than just grades.
Totally. Like you could have a kid who's always been a straight A student, but suddenly their grades take a nosedive.
Or maybe they're getting good grades, but they're just completely checked out.
Yeah. Like they're just going through the motions, no real motivation.
Totally. And those are signs that something's up.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
So we need to be like detectives, looking for clues beyond just the grades themselves.
For sure. Like the guide actually gives this example of a kid who suddenly starts complaining about headaches or stomach aches every morning before school.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that.
Classic avoidance tactics, right?
Absolutely.
Their body's literally trying to tell them, I don't want to go.
Get me out of here.
Right. But the reasons behind it could be anything, bullying, academic struggles, feeling overwhelmed socially.
So many things.
Exactly.
So then how do we start unraveling those reasons? The guide talks about the importance of asking open-ended questions.
Oh, definitely.
But I think we've all fallen into that trap of asking, how was school? And getting a one-word answer.
Oh, yeah, fine.
Fine.
Okay.
Every parent's favorite response.
Exactly. But instead of just, like you said, how was school, try asking things like, what was the most surprising thing you learned today? Or, tell me about something that made you laugh in class.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. It just invites them to share a story rather than just a fact.
Right, like you're opening a door for them to really talk.
Totally.
Yeah.
And even beyond those daily check-ins, the guide really stresses the importance of regularly communicating with teachers.
Yeah, they're such a valuable resource.
They are. Like, they're our partners in this detective work, right?
Absolutely. They see your child in a completely different environment than we do.
Right. Interacting with their peers, engaging with the material.
Exactly. And they can offer insights that we as parents might totally miss, even if we're super involved.
It's like having another set of eyes, another perspective.
Precisely.
I like that. So once we've got a better understanding of the situation,
Yeah.
the next step is figuring out what specific learning obstacles our child might be facing. And that's where things get even more complex.
Right.
Right, because every kid learns so differently.
Absolutely. What works for one child might be a complete disaster for another.
Totally. Like the guide uses this analogy of a toolbox.
Oh, yeah. I love that.
We need to fill our parenting toolbox with a variety of tools because there's no one-size-fits-all solution.
Right. Like some kids might need a really structured environment, clear expectations, while others might need more flexibility, more creative freedom.
So true.
Got to find what works for each kid.
So how do we even begin to identify what those unique learning obstacles are? Sometimes it's obvious, like if they're consistently struggling with a particular subject.
Yeah.
But what about those more subtle challenges?
I think that's where careful observation comes in. Really paying attention to their behavior patterns. Do they get easily frustrated with certain types of assignments? Do they avoid certain subjects altogether? Do they have trouble focusing even when they're doing something they enjoy?
Oh, that's a good point.
It's like you're piecing together a puzzle.
Yeah, looking for those little pieces of information that reveal the bigger picture.
Exact.
I like that.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to just ask your child directly about their difficulties. Create a safe space where they feel comfortable expressing their frustrations without feeling judged.
Speaking of safe spaces, the guide dives deep into the importance of fostering open dialogue with our kids.
Absolutely crucial.
But honestly, that's easier said than done, right?
It definitely takes effort, but think about it from a child's perspective. School can feel like this high-pressure environment where they're constantly being judged on their performance.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
They might be afraid to disappoint us or admit that they're struggling.
That makes sense.
So we have to break down those walls and create an environment where they feel safe to open up.
Okay, I get that in theory, but what does that actually look like in practice? You know, we're all busy. We've got a million things going on.
Yeah.
How do we actually carve out the time and space for these meaningful conversations?
Well, the guide emphasizes the importance of setting aside dedicated time for talking, completely free from distractions.
No.
Put away your phone, turn off the TV, and really focus on your child. Even if it's just for 15 minutes a day, make it clear that this is their time to share whatever's on their mind.
So it's about quality over quantity. It's about being present in that moment.
Absolutely.
And it's not just about listening. It's about active listening, right?
Right. That means reflecting back what you hear, asking clarifying questions, and making sure they feel heard and understood.
It sounds so simple, but I think we all know how easy it is to slip into lecture mode, especially when we're worried or frustrated.
It's a natural instinct. But try approaching the conversation with empathy and patience, validating their feelings even if you don't agree with them.
So even if they're complaining about a teacher or saying they hate a certain subject, we need to resist that urge to jump in and try to fix it.
Sometimes the best thing we can do is just listen and acknowledge their feelings. Say something like, that sounds really frustrating, or it makes sense that you feel that way.
Yeah,
When they feel heard and validated, they're more likely to open up and share what's really going on.
that makes a lot of sense. But what about those times when they just clam up and refuse to talk at all? I feel like I've hit that wall so many times.
Oh, yeah, it can be so frustrating. But remember, forcing them to talk is only going to make them more resistant. Instead, try offering gentle encouragement and letting them know you're there when they're ready.
So it's about creating that safe space and then letting them come to us at their own pace.
Exactly. And in the meantime, you can try modeling transparency by sharing your own feelings in age-appropriate ways.
Oh, I like that. So if I'm having a stressful day at work, I might say something like, work was really challenging today and I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed.
Exactly. You're showing them that it's okay to have feelings and to talk about them. You're normalizing it.
And you're showing them that even adults struggle sometimes.
Exactly.
It's like we're leading by example, showing them that vulnerability isn't a weakness, it's a strength.
That's a great way to put it.
I love that.
And, sometimes even just changing the scenery can help. Instead of having those serious talks at the dinner table, try connecting with your child while you're doing something else.
Like going for a walk or playing a game together.
Exactly. Sometimes when they're relaxed and engaged in an activity, they're more likely to open up naturally. It's about creating those opportunities for casual connection.
Yeah, it takes the pressure off and makes those conversations feel more organic.
Right. It's not an interrogation, it's a conversation.
This is such valuable advice. We've covered so much ground already. Recognizing those subtle signs of performance issues, creating a safe space for dialogue.
It's all connected.
It is. It feels like we're building a toolkit for truly understanding our children on a deeper level.
You're spot on.
And the guide goes even further, offering supportive parenting techniques that can help you guide your child towards improvement.
It does.
But I think that deserves its own section.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
We'll dive into those techniques after a quick.
Oh, wait, there's one more point in this section that I think is particularly important. The guide highlights the importance of helping our children understand that all emotions are valid.
Oh, that's a great point. Sometimes we inadvertently send the message that certain emotions are bad or unacceptable, especially negative emotions like anger, sadness, or frustration.
Exactly. We might say things like, don't be so upset, or you shouldn't feel that way. But the truth is, all emotions are valid, and they're all trying to tell us something.
So instead of trying to shut down those emotions, we need to help our children understand and process them.
Precisely. We can say things like, it's okay to feel angry, but let's talk about why you're feeling that way and what we can do about it. Or, I understand why you're sad. Sometimes things don't go the way we want, and that's okay.
It's about teaching them emotional intelligence, giving them the tools to navigate those complex feelings in a healthy way.
Exactly. And that's a skill that will benefit them far beyond their school years. It's about equipping them for life.
Okay, now I'm really excited to dive into those supportive parenting techniques. I feel like we're just scratching the surface here.
We are. There's so much more to explore, and I can't wait to share what the guide has to say about how we can actively support our children's growth and development.
I'm ready. Let's take a quick break and we'll be right back. All right, so we've laid the groundwork for understanding our child's school experience on a deeper level.
Yeah, we've got some good insight.
But now let's get to the practical stuff, How do we actually help them improve?
Okay, so this is where the guide's advice on supportive parenting techniques really shines.
I'm all ears. Hit me with it.
It goes beyond just communication and dives into how we as parents can create an environment that fosters growth and confidence.
I'm ready to roll up my sleeves and get to work.
All right, so it all starts with observation, but not just casual observation. The guide encourages us to become what they call student anthropologists.
Oh, I love that. What does a student anthropologist actually do?
Imagine yourself as a researcher studying your child in their natural habitat.
Oh, yeah.
Pay close attention to their behavior patterns, not just in school, but in all areas of their life.
Hmm.
What activities do they naturally gravitate towards? What are they passionate about? What makes their eyes light up?
So it's not just about focusing on their weaknesses or the areas where they're struggling,
Uh-huh.
but also recognizing their strengths and interests.
Exactly. It's about understanding what motivates them, what makes them tick.
Yeah.
Because when we tap into those intrinsic motivators, we can actually channel that energy towards their schoolwork.
That makes a lot of sense. Like finding the key that unlocks their learning potential.
Precisely. And remember, these observations aren't just about passively watching.
Okay.
The guide encourages us to engage in regular conversations with our children about their interests, challenges, and achievements.
So instead of just asking, how was your day?
Mm.
We might say something like, tell me about something you learned today that really fascinated you.
Perfect example.
Or what was the most challenging part of that project you're working on?
Exactly. It's about showing them that we genuinely care about their experiences and that we value their effort, not just their grades.
And the guide emphasizes the importance of using empathy to really understand our child's perspective. I think that can be a tough one for parents sometimes.
It can be.
It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking, well, I went through school, so I know how you feel.
Right. I've been there, done that.
Exactly.
But the truth is, every child's experience is unique.
Mm-hmm.
Their world is different from ours. Their challenges might look very different from the ones we face.
So how do we actually practice empathy in this context?
The guide offers this simple but powerful exercise.
Okay.
Imagine yourself as your child, sitting in their classroom, facing their specific challenges. How would you feel? What would make you feel supported?
Wow. That's such a powerful shift in perspective.
It is.
It forces us to step outside of our own assumptions and really see things through their eyes.
Exactly. It's about putting ourselves in their shoes and recognizing that their struggles are just as real and valid as ours.
Okay, so we've talked about observation, communication, and empathy.
All important pieces.
They're all crucial elements of understanding our child's experience.
Yeah.
But what about the actual process of helping them improve?
This is where the guide's advice on setting realistic and achievable goals comes in.
Okay.
It's about breaking down those big, overwhelming goals into smaller, more manageable steps.
So instead of saying, you need to improve your math grade, we might say something like, let's focus on mastering your multiplication facts this week.
Perfect example.
Okay.
And when they achieve those smaller goals, celebrate those successes. No matter how small they might seem to you, they represent a significant accomplishment for your child.
That makes sense. Every victory, big or small, can fuel their motivation to keep going.
Absolutely. And remember, these goals shouldn't just be imposed from the top down.
Hmm.
The guide encourages us to involve our children in the goal-setting process.
So it's about collaboration, not dictatorship.
Exactly. Ask them what they want to achieve, what they're struggling with, and what they think would help them improve.
Oh, I like that.
When they feel like they have a voice in the process, they're more likely to buy in and take ownership of their learning.
That's a great point. It empowers them and gives them a sense of control over their own educational journey.
And speaking of empowerment, the guide dives deep into the concept of a growth mindset.
Oh, yeah. We hear a lot about growth mindset these days.
We do.
But I think it's worth revisiting. Can you remind us what that actually means in the context of parenting?
Okay, so it's about shifting our focus from innate ability to effort and learning. Instead of praising our children for being smart, we praise them for their hard work, their perseverance, their willingness to take on challenges.
So it's about recognizing that intelligence isn't fixed. It's something that can be developed through dedication and effort.
Exactly. And when we model this growth mindset ourselves, it sends a powerful message to our children. They see that we're not afraid to make mistakes, that we're always learning and growing, and that setbacks are just opportunities for improvement.
It's like we're showing them that it's okay to fail as long as we learn from those failures and keep moving forward.
Exactly. And that's such a valuable life lesson.
It is.
And along that journey, there will be bumps in the road.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That's where the guide's advice on providing positive reinforcement and constructive feedback comes in.
Okay, I think this is where a lot of parents struggle.
It can be tricky.
How do we find that balance between being supportive and holding our children accountable?
It's a delicate dance, but the guide offers some really helpful guidance.
Okay.
It starts with being specific in our praise.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just saying, good job, we might say something like, I really appreciate how much effort you put into that essay. Or, I noticed how you use that new vocabulary word you learned.
So it's about acknowledging their specific actions and efforts, not just the outcome.
Exactly. And when it comes to constructive feedback, the key is to focus on the behavior, not the child.
Okay.
So instead of saying, "You're so messy," we might say, "I noticed that your desk is cluttered. Let's work together on creating a more organized space."
That's a great example. It's about addressing the issue without making them feel like they're being attacked personally.
Precisely. And remember, feedback is most effective when it's delivered with empathy and a genuine desire to help them improve.
So it's not about criticizing or shaming them. It's about guiding them towards positive change.
Exactly. And this brings us to another important point in the guide: the power of modeling resilience.
Oh, yeah?
Our children are constantly watching us, learning from our actions and reactions.
So if they see us freaking out over every little setback, they're more likely to do the same.
It's definitely possible, but if they see us tackling challenges with a positive attitude, bouncing back from setbacks, and viewing mistakes as opportunities for learning,
Right.
they're more likely to adopt those same attitudes.
It's like we're showing them that it's okay to fail, as long as we learn from those failures and keep moving forward.
Exactly, and that's such a valuable life lesson.
This is such incredibly valuable advice. I feel like we're building this amazing toolkit for empowering our children to succeed in school and in life.
I agree.
But there's one thing that's still nagging at me. What about those kids who seem completely resistant to our efforts? You know, the ones who shut down, refuse to talk, and seem determined to fail no matter what we do.
That's a really important question, and it's something that the guide addresses directly.
Okay, good.
It's important to remember that we can't force our children to learn or to succeed.
Right, of course.
So when we've tried everything and nothing seems to be working,
Yeah, what then?
the guide encourages us to take a step back and ask ourselves, what am I trying to control here?
Wow, that's a powerful question.
It is, right? Because sometimes our desire to help our children can morph into a need to control their outcomes.
I see, yeah.
We might be so focused on them getting good grades or achieving certain milestones that we forget to focus on their well-being.
So it's about letting go of our expectations and accepting that they have their own journey to take.
Exactly. It's about offering them our support and guidance, but ultimately allowing them to make their own choices and learn from their own mistakes.
That's such a hard thing to do, but I know it's essential.
It is. And, sometimes the best thing we can do is to seek outside support. If you're feeling overwhelmed or stuck, don't hesitate to reach out to a teacher, counselor, or therapist.
Oh, that's a good point.
They can offer fresh perspectives and strategies for navigating these challenges.
It takes a village, right?
Absolutely. We don't have to do this alone.
This has been such a valuable conversation. I feel like I've gained so much insight into how to create a more supportive and empowering environment for my child.
Me too.
But before we wrap up, I'm curious to hear what the guide has to say about the long-term impact of these communication practices.
Okay.
I mean, it's about more than just school performance, right?
You're absolutely right. The guide's final message is all about the ripple effects of these practices on our children's overall well-being and their future success.
Well,
But I think that deserves its own dedicated section.
okay. Yeah, we've covered a lot already.
Yeah, and I want to make sure we have time to really unpack those final insights.
You got it. But we'll dive into those long-term implications after a quick. All right, so we've talked about understanding our children's unique learning styles, creating a safe space for open dialogue, and using those supportive techniques to help them improve. But now I'm really curious about the bigger picture. What does the guide have to say about the long-term impact of these communication practices?
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting. The guide doesn't just focus on academic success.
Okay.
It emphasizes that these communication skills are foundational for your child's overall well-being and their future success in life.
So it's about more than just good grades. It's about equipping them with the tools they need to thrive in all aspects of their lives.
Exactly. Think about it. When you consistently create an environment of open communication where your child feels safe to express their thoughts and feelings without fear of judgment, you're fostering their self-esteem and building their confidence.
It's like we're giving them the courage to be themselves,
Yes.
to embrace their individuality, and to navigate the world with this sense of self-assurance.
Precisely. And when you actively listen to them, validate their feelings, and help them process those emotions in a healthy way,
Yeah.
you're teaching them emotional intelligence. You're giving them the tools to understand and manage their own emotions, as well as the emotions of others.
That's such a crucial skill, not just for personal relationships, but for navigating the complexities of the workplace and the world in general.
Absolutely. And when you encourage a growth mindset,
Right.
you're instilling in them the belief that they can learn and grow from their mistakes.
Yeah.
They develop resilience, perseverance, and a willingness to embrace challenges.
It's like we're giving them the tools to become lifelong learners, to constantly adapt and evolve in a world that's changing so rapidly.
Exactly. And all of these skills, self-esteem, emotional intelligence, resilience, a growth mindset, these are the foundations for success in any field, in any endeavor they choose to pursue.
Wow, that's powerful. It's a reminder that our role as parents extends far beyond just getting them through school. We're shaping the adults they will become.
And the guide also highlights the impact of these communication practices on our relationship with our children.
Oh, interesting.
When we create that foundation of trust and open communication, we're strengthening our bond and building a connection that will last a lifetime.
That's so true. It's about creating a relationship where they feel comfortable coming to us with their problems, their fears, their dreams, no matter what stage of life they're in.
Precisely. And it's a reminder that parenting is a journey, not a destination. We're constantly learning and growing alongside our children.
This deep dive has been such an incredible reminder of the power of communication in shaping our children's lives.
It really has.
It's not just about what we say, it's about how we listen, how we validate, how we create a space for them to thrive.
I think the most important takeaway from this guide is that it's never too late to start implementing these practices. Whether your child is in kindergarten or college, you can always work on building a stronger, more supportive relationship through open and honest communication.
That's such an encouraging message.
It is.
It gives me hope that even if I've made mistakes in the past, I can always course correct and create a more positive dynamic with my child.
Absolutely. And remember, parenting is hard. It's messy.
Oh, for sure.
There's no one-size-fits-all approach. But when we prioritize communication, empathy, and a growth mindset,
Right.
we're giving our children the best possible foundation for success in all areas of their lives.
I couldn't agree more. This has been such an insightful and inspiring deep dive.
I agree.
I'm walking away with a renewed sense of purpose and a whole toolbox of strategies to try out.
I'm so glad to hear that. And remember, you're not alone in this journey. There are resources and support systems available to help you along the way.
Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
The pleasure was all mine.
And to all our listeners out there, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you found these insights as valuable as we have. Remember, keep those lines of communication open, keep learning, keep growing, and keep supporting your children on their amazing journeys. Until next time.